The man who ran our car off the road stared down at his folded hands and finally said, "I didn't choose the route." Detective Lena Park leaned forward. "Who did?" He swallowed. "Someone at the wedding told me exactly when they were leaving." My body went cold. Only 6 people knew which road Noah and I planned to take to the lake cabin. The driver mentioned a woman who had adjusted my veil hours before the crash. But that was not the name that destroyed what was left of me. It was the man who had walked me down the aisle. 3 weeks earlier, I woke to the steady beeping of a hospital monitor. For a few confused seconds, I thought the sound was part of the music from our wedding reception. I expected to open my eyes and see warm string lights, old wooden rafters, and Noah Bennett standing across the dance floor with his tie loosened and one hand reaching for mine. Instead, I saw a white ceiling. A plastic tube ran into my arm. My ribs felt as if someone had driven a metal bar through my chest. There was dried blood beneath one fingernail and a bandage pulled tight across my forehead. My right hand rested on top of the blanket. The gold wedding band was still on my finger. I lifted it toward the fluorescent light. That small circle of gold was the only proof I had that the previous day had been real. My best friend Tessa Reed was asleep in a chair beside the bed. She still wore the dark green bridesmaid dress from the ceremony, though the hem was wrinkled and stained. Someone had placed a gray hospital blanket over her shoulders. Near the window stood Noah's parents. Linda Bennett had both hands pressed over her mouth. Tom stood beside her, one arm wrapped around her shoulders, but he wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the floor. My father sat near the wall. Glenn Ellison had always been a careful man. His shirts were pressed. His bills were filed by date. His voice rarely rose above the level of a calm conversation. That morning, he looked like a man who had spent the night arranging his face into something he could live inside. His elbows rested on his knees. His hands were locked together. His wedding ring pressed into the skin of one finger. No one spoke. I looked toward the empty chair on the other side of the room. Noah. Tessa woke instantly. Relief crossed her face when she saw my eyes open. Then something heavier replaced it. She stood and took my hand. "Hey," she whispered, "I'm right here." "Where's Noah?" Nobody answered. I tried to sit up. Pain tore across my ribs and forced me back onto the pillow. "Where is my husband?" Linda made a broken sound. Tom caught her when her knees weakened. My father lowered his eyes. Tessa's fingers tightened around mine. "Mara, number." She hadn't said anything yet, but I already knew. The body understands certain truths before the mind is willing to name them. "No," I said again. "The doctors tried everything." "Number." The impact was on his side. "Noah is 34. I said it as if age were evidence, as if death had made an administrative mistake. He was talking to me. He was holding my hand. We were going to the cabin. Tessa was crying now. "I'm so sorry." "You're wrong, Mara. We just got married." I raised my hand so everyone could see the ring. "We got married yesterday." No one tried to answer that. There was no answer. Only hours earlier, Noah had been standing beneath a wooden arch at Silver Creek Orchard, smiling at me as if every person in the world had disappeared except the two of us. Silver Creek was 40 minutes outside Eugene, Oregon, where farmland met pine-covered hills, and the roads became narrow enough that drivers waved when they passed one another. The reception was held inside a renovated apple-packing barn. It wasn't elegant in the way wedding magazines use that word. There were no marble floors, no crystal chandeliers, and no famous caterer. The long tables had been rented from a church hall. Tessa and I filled glass jars with grocery store flowers the night before. Noah's mother baked 3 sheet cakes because she refused to let us spend $900 on something, as she put it. People are only going to cut into uneven pieces. It was warm, familiar, real. Exactly what we wanted. Noah and I had known each other since 4th grade. His parents owned Bennett Garden and Hardware, a neighborhood store where customers could buy tomato plants, roofing nails, garden gloves, and 20 minutes of Tom Bennett's opinion about drainage. My mother, Elaine, had run a bakery and community kitchen called Elaine's Table. She opened before sunrise, taught teenagers how to bake bread after school, and kept a jar beside the register for customers who needed lunch but could not afford it. She died from ovarian cancer when I was 9. Noah remembered her. He remembered the blue apron she wore even when she wasn't cooking. He remembered that she always gave him extra icing because he pretended not to like sweet things. After she died, Elaine's table closed. My father told me the bakery had been buried in debt. He said the ovens were sold, the building was transferred, and there was nothing left except some old recipes he didn't know where to find. I believed him because I was a child. Later, when I asked again, he gave me adult words for the same story. The business had failed. The property was gone. Moving on was healthier than living inside the past. My father remarried 2 years after Elaine died. Denise Harper entered our house with a bright smile, expensive perfume, and a daughter only 4 months younger than I was. Kelsey followed me everywhere at first. She borrowed my sweaters, copied my hairstyles, sat too close to Noah whenever he came over after school. Everyone called it admiration. As we grew older, the family created a quiet rule around her feelings. Anything good that happened to me had to be made smaller so Kelsey would not feel left behind. When I won a statewide art contest, dinner became a celebration of how bravely Kelsey had handled not winning anything that semester. When I earned a college scholarship, my father asked me not to announce it until Kelsey had recovered from being rejected by her first-choice school. When Noah took me to prom, Denise said Kelsey had always assumed he would ask her. When Noah and I began dating seriously in our late 20s, Kelsey laughed and said, "I guess some people never grow out of their childhood habits." She said it lightly. Her eyes didn't. 6 months before our wedding, Noah showed me a message she had sent him after midnight. "I still dream about you. Don't you ever wonder whether you chose the wrong sister?" He had replied once, "Mara is not the sister I settled for. She is the woman I love. Do not contact me like this again." I wanted to confront her. Noah asked me not to. "Not because she deserves protection," he said, "because we deserve peace." So we blocked her number and moved forward. I did not tell my father. I already knew what he would say. Kelsey was confused. Kelsey had always felt second best. Kelsey didn't mean it the way it sounded. In our family, every wound Kelsey caused became another reason the person she hurt was expected to forgive her. On my wedding day, all I wanted was for the past to remain quiet for a few hours. For most of the evening, it did. Tessa helped me into my dress in the small bridal room above the orchard office. Linda arrived carrying a flat package wrapped in brown paper. Inside was my mother's old blue apron mounted beneath glass. "I thought she should be here somehow," Linda said. I cried so hard Tessa had to fix my makeup twice. My father arrived 10 minutes before the ceremony. He wore a navy suit and the silver watch my mother had given him on their 10th anniversary. His phone vibrated while we waited behind the barn doors. He checked the screen. Then he turned the phone face down. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Business. It's Saturday. Problems don't follow calendars." The phone buzzed again. This time he did not check it, but his eyes moved toward the side entrance. Denise and Kelsey were standing near the first row. Kelsey held a phone against her silver dress. My father looked away quickly. "You're not going to cry?" I asked, trying to lighten the moment. His expression softened. "I'm proud of you." It should have comforted me. Instead, something in his voice made me feel as if he were saying goodbye. Then the barn doors opened. Music filled the room. I saw Noah waiting beneath the arch. Nothing else mattered. His dark hair was already falling out of place. His hands were clasped in front of him, but the moment our eyes met, his shoulders dropped, as if he had been holding his breath all day. He smiled. That smile was home. During the ceremony, Noah promised to make coffee when I was too tired to speak to listen before trying to solve my problems, and never to treat love like something I had to earn. "I choose you when life is easy," he said, "and I will choose you when it isn't." I had no idea how little time that promise would be given. At the reception, we danced beneath the string lights. Noah stepped on the hem of my dress during the first song. "I've waited 20 years for this," he whispered. "I'm not letting a little lace defeat me." I laughed into his shoulder. During the father-daughter dance, Glenn held me carefully, but his attention kept drifting toward the barn doors. "You keep looking outside." "Just tired. You can sit down." "I'm fine." His phone vibrated inside his jacket. He stopped moving for half a second. "What is going on?" "Nothing you need to worry about tonight." That answer returned to me many times after the crash. So did the final family photograph. The photographer arranged Noah and me beneath the string lights. Linda and Tom stood on his side. My father and Denise stood on mine. Kelsey arrived last. She ignored the space beside her mother and stepped between Noah and me. The photographer laughed awkwardly. I need the bride and groom together. Kelsey smiled. Of course, I'm just borrowing him. She kept one hand on Noah's arm as she moved away. Noah leaned toward me. $10 says she posts the version where you're cropped out. I nudged him. Be nice. I am being nice. You're impossible. And legally yours now. Those were some of the last ordinary words we shared. The reception ended a little after 10:30. Noah and I planned to spend 2 nights at his parents' small cabin near Fern Lake before flying to San Diego later that week. There were 2 ways to reach the cabin. The highway was faster. The road through Millstone Ridge was quieter and more beautiful. Noah always chose the ridge. Only a few people knew. Our parents. Tessa. Kelsey, because she had overheard us discussing it during the rehearsal dinner. As Noah loaded our bags into the car, Tessa came outside to hug me. You have your charger? Yes. Toothbrush. I'm 32 and emotionally unprepared for dental neglect. I laughed. Behind her, Kelsey stood near the side of the barn with a phone pressed hard against her ear. Her back was turned to us. The moment she noticed Tessa looking, she ended the call. Who was she talking to? I asked. No idea. Kelsey walked toward us. Her face was calm. Too calm I would remember later. She hugged me without warmth. You got everything you wanted, she whispered. I pulled back. What? Her smile returned before anyone else could hear. Beautiful wedding, perfect husband, happy ending. Then she stepped toward Noah. For a second, I thought she intended to hug him. Noah moved beside me instead and placed his hand at my waist. Good night, Kelsey. Something sharpened in her expression. Drive carefully, she said. 20 minutes later, we were climbing Millstone Ridge. Rain had begun to fall. Not heavily, just enough to put a silver shine on the pavement. Noah drove with one hand on the wheel and the other resting over mine. The road curved between pine trees and scattered farmhouses. We passed a red cattle barn near the county line. Beyond that, the houses thinned out. You happy? He asked. Embarrassingly. Good. What about you? I've been happy since you walked into 4th grade with purple paint on your nose. You told everyone it looked like a bruise. I was 9. Flirting was still in development. I looked out the window smiling. What do you want our life to look like? I asked. He thought about it. Messy kitchen. We already have that. Dog. You're allergic. I'll suffer. Heroic. Sunday dinners. Kids, maybe. Your paintings everywhere. He paused. And Elaine's table open again. I looked at him. That place is gone. The business closed. I'm not sure the building is gone. My father said it was sold. I asked Dad to check. Your dad? He knows half the contractors in Lane County. And he found something strange. I sat straighter. What kind of strange? I don't have the whole story. Noah, not tonight. He squeezed my hand. Tonight you're my wife. Tomorrow we start asking questions. Headlights appeared behind us. They were high and bright. A heavy truck. It came fast around the curve and closed the distance. Noah checked the mirror. Someone's in a hurry. He slowed to let it pass. The truck slowed too. It moved left, then returned behind us. Noah's hand left mine. He gripped the wheel with both hands. Mara, tighten your seatbelt. What? Do it! I pulled the belt. The truck disappeared for a moment around a bend. Then its headlights returned. This time it came beside us. Too close. Noah hit the horn. The truck moved toward our lane. Noah. He turned the wheel. Metal struck metal. The sound swallowed everything. The car spun. Trees turned sideways through the windshield. Glass hit my face like ice. Noah's arm crossed my chest. Then the road vanished beneath us. The car dropped. There was a violent stop. For one brief second, I heard rain falling through the broken window. Noah. He didn't answer. I reached toward him. Headlights stopped on the road above us. A door opened. Footsteps approached the edge of the ditch. A man looked down. I could not see his face, only a thick body beneath a baseball cap. Help, I tried to say. A phone lit in his hand. He looked at the screen. Then he turned away. The truck engine started. He left us there. My next memory was the hospital. For the first 4 days, I existed from one pain medication dose to the next. People came with flowers, casseroles, and phrases they had heard other grieving people say. Everything happens for a reason. He's in a better place. You were lucky to survive. That last one was the worst. I did not feel lucky. I felt guilty every time I opened my eyes. Tessa slept beside my bed every night. She did not tell me to be strong. She did not say Noah would want me to move on. She simply stayed. Linda and Tom came every morning. Linda brushed my hair when I could not lift my arms. Tom spoke to the nurses and wrote down every instruction in a small notebook. My father came each afternoon. He asked whether I had eaten. He brought coffee I did not drink. He sat by the window and looked outside. Whenever anyone mentioned the investigation, his shoulders tightened. Then he changed the subject. Denise and Kelsey visited on the third day. Denise entered already crying. She took both my hands and told me life was cruel, that none of us would ever recover, and that she wished she could carry my pain for me. Kelsey stood near the door. Her eyes were dry. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said. The words sounded rehearsed. Not wrong, just empty. A nurse entered to check my monitor. While everyone's attention shifted, Kelsey looked at my hand. At the wedding ring, something passed across her face. Not grief, resentment. Then it was gone. Noah's funeral took place 9 days later. I attended in a wheelchair because my right knee could not support my weight, and every deep breath still pulled at my ribs. The service was held at Cedar Grove Community Church, where Noah and I had attended holiday pageants as children. Linda sat beside me in the front row. Tom sat on her other side, holding Noah's childhood baseball cap in his lap. My father sat behind us with Denise and Kelsey. During the opening hymn, Kelsey began sobbing loudly. People turned. After the service, she stood near the photograph display and accepted comfort as if she were the widow. An elderly neighbor took both her hands. "You poor girl, you and Noah grew up together." Kelsey did not correct her. Tessa did. "Noah's wife is over there," she said, pointing toward me. Kelsey's mouth tightened. Later in the church basement, people gathered around aluminum trays of casseroles and paper cups of coffee. Kelsey approached my table. "You didn't have to embarrass me." I stared at her. "My husband is in a casket upstairs." "I know that." "Do you?" Her face went still. "Everyone is grieving, Mara. You don't own sadness just because you got the ring." Tessa stood so quickly her chair scraped the floor. "What did you just say?" Kelsey stepped back. Denise appeared immediately. "Kelsey is exhausted." "I'm exhausted," I said. "Kelsey is cruel." Denise lowered her voice. "This is not the time for one of your competitions." I almost laughed. My husband died. And my daughter lost someone important to her, too. There it was, the rule that had controlled our family for 20 years. My pain still had to make room for Kelsey's feelings, even with Noah lying in a casket. My father walked over carrying a cup of coffee. "What's happening?" "Nothing," Denise said. Tessa looked at him. "Your stepdaughter told Mara she doesn't own sadness because she got the ring." Glenn closed his eyes briefly. Kelsey apologized. "I'm sorry she misunderstood." "That is not an apology," Tessa said. My father looked at me. "Please, not here." He did not ask Kelsey to leave. He asked me to remain quiet. That night, Linda helped me into the downstairs guest bed at the Bennett house. I could not return to the apartment Noah and I had prepared. His shoes were beside the door. His coffee mug was still in the sink. Our unopened wedding gifts covered one corner of the dining room. At 2 in the morning, my phone vibrated. Tessa had sent me a screenshot. Kelsey had posted a black and white photograph from the reception. Noah was laughing at something outside the frame. Kelsey stood beside him with one hand on his arm. I had been standing on Noah's other side. She cropped me out. The caption read, "Some souls are connected in ways this world never understands. I will carry you with me forever." Hundreds of people reacted. One person wrote, "I always thought you and Noah would end up together." Kelsey replied with a broken heart emoji. Another comment said, "Some love stories never get their chance." Kelsey liked it. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then I sent my father a message. "Please tell Kelsey to remove the post. She is making people believe she and Noah were together." He did not respond until morning. His answer contained 12 words. "She is grieving too. Please don't make this harder for everyone." I read it 3 times. "Not harder for you. Not harder for Linda or Tom. Harder for everyone." As if my grief were a problem the family needed managed. I typed several replies. I deleted all of them. Then I opened the notebook Tom had left beside the bed. On the first page I wrote, "Kelsey called someone before we left. Dad kept checking his phone. Kelsey said drive carefully." The next morning, Detective Lena Park came to the Bennett house. She was in her early 40s with dark hair pulled back and a calm way of speaking that made each question sound deliberate. She sat across from me at the kitchen table. Linda, Tom, Tessa, and my father were present. Denise had offered to come, but Detective Park said the interview should remain small. "The truck has not been located," she told us. but the collision does not appear accidental. Linda gripped Tom's hand. What does that mean? The truck accelerated before entering your lane. My father's coffee cup touched its saucer too hard. A small sound. Almost nothing. I noticed. Tom asked, "Are you saying someone tried to kill them?" "I'm saying we're investigating an intentional roadway assault." My father cleared his throat. Could wet pavement explain the angle? The rain was light. There were no skid marks from the truck before contact. What about a drunk driver? Possible but less likely. I spoke before I could stop myself. He stopped. Everyone looked at me. Detective Park leaned forward. What do you remember? He got out. He came to the edge of the ditch. Linda covered her mouth. He saw you. Yes. He looked down at us. My voice began to shake. I asked for help. What did he do? A phone lit in his hand. He looked at it, then he left. My father stood abruptly. I need some air. Detective Park watched him walk outside. I watched her watching him. After the detective left, Denise called. She did not ask how I was feeling. Did the police mention Kelsey? The question was so direct I thought I had misunderstood. Why would they? They wouldn't. I'm only asking because Kelsey is upset. Tessa has been making people think she behaved inappropriately at the funeral. Tessa repeated what Kelsey said. People say unfortunate things when they are grieving. Kelsey posted a photograph pretending Noah belonged to her. She posted a memory. She cut me out of it. You don't know that. I was standing beside him. Denise sighed. Not everything is about excluding you. The cruelty was almost impressive. Even now, she could make being erased sound like my personal insecurity. I have to go. Mara, wait. There is something practical your father wants handled. What? The Hawthorne Avenue property. My mother's bakery. I sat straighter. What about it? The tenant moved out. Kelsey has been considering a small photography studio. Glenn thinks it might be good for the family to use the building rather than leave it empty. My father told me it was sold. A pause. Only 1 second. But I heard it. I may have misunderstood. You said the family should use it. It has been managed as a family asset for years. Managed by whom? Mara, this is not the time. You brought it up. I was trying to include you. In what? She exhaled sharply. This is exactly what I mean. Everyone has to walk on eggshells around you. My husband had been dead 9 days. And Denise was accusing me of making the family uncomfortable because I asked who owned my mother's building. I ended the call. Then I added another line to my notebook. Denise knows Hawthorne Building was never sold. When my father visited that evening, I asked him directly, "Do we still own Mom's bakery building?" He looked toward the hallway before answering. "Why are you thinking about that now?" Denise called. His jaw tightened. She shouldn't have. So the building is still connected to us. It's complicated. You told me it was sold. I told a 9-year-old what she could understand. I'm 32. This is not the time to dig through old financial issues. When is the time? You just buried your husband. I know exactly what I did. He flinched. Part of me felt guilty for causing it. That was how thoroughly my family had trained me. Even in my own devastation, I felt responsible for the discomfort of the man lying to me. Glenn lowered his voice. Denise is trying to give Kelsey something constructive to focus on. My mother's bakery is not a recovery project for Kelsey. It has been empty for years. You told me it was sold. You're twisting words. No, I'm repeating them. His eyes hardened. Grief is making you suspicious of everyone. Detective Park said someone intentionally hit us. And the police will find the driver. Were you speaking to Kelsey during the reception? The color left his face. What? Your phone kept buzzing. You kept looking toward her. I received many calls. On my wedding night, he stood. I came to check on you, not to be interrogated. Then answer one question. I already did. He moved toward the door. At the threshold, he turned. You have spent your entire life refusing to understand how fortunate you are. I stared at him. My husband is dead. And somehow everything still becomes about what was taken from you. The room went silent. My father seemed to hear his own words only after they were spoken. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Something inside me snapped. Not the way I had shattered when I learned Noah was dead. That had been an explosion. This was quieter. A final thread breaking after years of strain. Leave, I said. Mara, leave. He stepped toward me. Tessa appeared in the hallway. She asked you to go. My father looked between us. Then he walked out. I did not cry until I heard his car start. 2 days later, Tessa called while I was trying to walk from the guest room to the kitchen with a cane. I need to tell you something about the wedding. Her voice had changed. What? The call. What call? Kelsey's before you left. I lowered myself into a chair. What about it? I didn't hear everything. I was outside near the side door. She was behind the corner of the barn. Tessa paused. She said they just loaded the bags. My hand tightened around the cane. Are you sure? Yes. What else? She said, the Ridge Road. They always take the Ridge Road. For a few seconds I could not breathe. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I didn't know it meant anything. I thought she was talking to someone about where you were going. Maybe a surprise at the cabin. Then Detective Park said the truck accelerated. Did Kelsey see you? Yes. She ended the call. I looked at the notebook on the table. The pieces were no longer random. They were beginning to point in the same direction. That evening I called Kelsey. I kept my voice calm. She answered after 4 rings. What? I wanted to check on you. She laughed softly. That's new. I heard you were upset. I'm being treated like a criminal because your friend hates me. Tessa doesn't hate you. She always has. What were you doing outside before Noah and I left? Silence. Then getting air. Who were you calling? A friend. Which friend? Why does it matter? You told someone we were taking the Ridge Road. Another silence. Longer this time. I don't remember saying that. Tessa heard you. Tessa hears whatever supports the story she wants. What story? That I wanted your life. My heart began beating harder. I never said that. You didn't have to. She continued before I could answer. You have always looked at me like I was waiting to steal something from you. You messaged Noah. He understood me. He blocked you. Because you told him to. No, he chose to. Her breathing changed. He should have chosen me. The words came out sharp and immediate. Then she stopped. Tessa, sitting across from me, stared at the phone. I switched the call to speaker. Kelsey's voice returned lower now. That isn't what I meant. What did you mean? You always got everything. My mother died when I was 9. And everyone spent the next 20 years making sure you never forgot you were the special one. What does that have to do with Noah? He was mine before he was yours. Noah was never yours. You don't know what he told me when we were younger. He showed me your messages. Silence. Then she said you had no right. He was my fiancé. You got the ring, the wedding, his family, and now you get to be the tragic widow everyone protects. Kelsey, Noah is dead, and you still won. The line went dead. For a long moment, neither Tessa nor I spoke. Then she said, we need to send that to Detective Park. I looked at the phone. Kelsey believed my survival was victory. That was the first moment I became truly afraid of her. Detective Park found the truck 3 days later. A privately owned gas station west of Millstone Ridge had a camera facing the road. The image was not clear enough to read the plate, but it captured an older delivery truck with a damaged passenger mirror and a faded red stripe across the cab. Tom recognized it. Bennett Garden and Hardware had used the same vehicle through an independent delivery contractor 2 years earlier. The driver's name was Raymond Dugan. Ray had been fired after several customer complaints and a missing equipment order. He blamed Tom for costing him future work. He moved away, Tom said. He returned 8 months ago, Detective Park replied. Would he attack Noah because of me? We don't think this was about an old employment dispute. She placed a printed photograph on the kitchen table. It showed Ray outside a roadside diner 3 weeks before the wedding. He stood beside a woman wearing a long cream-colored coat. Her face was turned away. I recognized the coat. Kelsey had worn it to my birthday dinner in September. My father, who had arrived minutes earlier, stood so quickly his chair tipped backward. That could be anyone. Detective Park looked at him. We haven't identified her. You're showing a grieving woman a blurry photograph and encouraging her to accuse family members. No one encouraged me, I said. Thousands of women own cream coats. She wore it 3 weeks before my wedding. He looked at Detective Park. I want to know whether my daughter is considered a suspect. Tessa folded her arms. Which daughter? My father froze. The room became completely still. Detective Park did not change expression. Glenn corrected himself. Either of them. Tessa's voice remained cold. Mara is the victim. That doesn't mean she can't misinterpret things. I looked at him. Why are you defending Kelsey before anyone has accused her? I'm protecting this family. No, you are protecting the part of it you chose. He left before Detective Park did. The next morning, Rosa Alvarez came to the Bennett house carrying a large paper grocery bag. Rosa had worked for my family since my mother became sick. At first, she came 3 afternoons a week to clean and prepare meals. By the final year of Elaine's illness, Rosa was doing nearly everything my father could not face. She organized medications, drove me to school, sat beside my mother during the nights when the pain was worst. After Elaine died, Rosa stayed. She packed my lunches, helped with homework, taught me how to iron a blouse without burning it. When I filled out college applications, she sat at the kitchen table and pretended not to notice when I cried over the section asking for my mother's information. Denise never liked her. Kelsey barely acknowledged her. My father called Rosa part of the family whenever guests were present, but paid her late often enough that I had quietly covered her wages more than once. Rosa placed the grocery bag on Linda's counter. I brought soup. You didn't have to. I know. She asked about my injuries. She asked whether I was sleeping. Then she folded her hands and stared at them. You know something I said? Her eyes lifted. How? Every time someone says Kelsey's name, your hands stop moving. Rosa looked toward Linda. Linda placed a mug of tea in front of her and sat down. You can speak here, she said. Rosa took a slow breath. I should have spoken sooner. About the crash. About many things. She reached into the grocery bag and removed a small wooden recipe box. The blue paint was chipped. I recognized it immediately. It had sat on the counter at Elaine's table. My mother's. Yes. Where did you get it? I saved it. Rosa told me Denise began removing my mother's belongings within months of moving into our house. Not all at once. That would have been obvious. A cookbook disappeared from the kitchen shelf. A framed photograph came down from the hallway. The blue mixing bowls were donated because Denise said they were chipped. My mother's herb garden was paved over for a patio. Whenever I protested, Denise said the house needed to stop feeling like a memorial. My father always agreed. Your mother's memory made Denise uncomfortable, Rosa said. Your father treated her discomfort like an emergency. The sentence hurt because it was true. My pain could wait. Denise and Kelsey's discomfort always required immediate action. What else did you save? Photographs, aprons, letters, the bakery sign. Where? At my sister's house. I touched the recipe box. Why didn't you tell me? You were a child. Later, you were trying to build a life away from that house. I thought I was helping. Did you hear them talking about Noah? Rosa looked toward the window. At first, only pieces. She had noticed Kelsey taking late-night calls in the months before the wedding. Denise and Kelsey often met in the small office beside the laundry room after my father went to bed. One evening, Rosa heard Kelsey say, once she marries him, he'll keep asking questions about the building. Denise replied, then it has to be handled before they come back. My father's voice came next. I agreed to a meeting, nothing more. Kelsey said, then stop asking for details. My mouth went dry. My father was there. Yes. What meeting? I did not know. Rosa lowered her eyes. A few weeks earlier, Denise caught me looking through old bakery records. She said if I caused trouble, she would make sure my sister lost her apartment. The owner was a client of your father. You believed her. I was afraid. She said it plainly. Not as an excuse, as a fact. I have a sister who depends on me. I have a nephew in college. I am not brave every day, Mara. You came here because fear is not the only thing I have. She reached into the grocery bag again. This time she removed a small digital recorder. The plastic casing was scratched. A strip of tape covered the battery compartment. I started carrying this after the threat. What is on it? Pieces of conversations. How many? 6. The first recording contained only Denise's voice saying a meeting had gone smoothly. The second contained Kelsey mentioning Ray's name. The third referred to the Hawthorne building. The clearest recording had been made 5 days before my wedding. Denise's voice came first. The curve after the red barn is narrow. He said they won't have room to recover. Kelsey replied. He is supposed to force them onto the shoulder, not hit them head on. My father spoke next. His voice was quiet, tired, unmistakable. You said no one would die, Denise answered. I said the intention was to scare Noah and destroy the laptop. Glenn said, then why does Ray need the truck? Kelsey laughed. Because Noah doesn't scare easily. There was a pause. My father spoke again. I don't want to know anything else, Kelsey replied. That has always been your favorite way of being innocent. The recording ended. No one moved. Linda sat down slowly. Tom walked to the back door and stared outside. Tessa covered her mouth. I listened again. My father knew they planned to force our car off the road. He knew they intended to frighten Noah and destroy whatever he had learned about Elaine's table. He understood death was possible. Then he walked me down the aisle. He danced with me. He watched Noah place his hand at my waist before we left, and he said nothing. I did not scream. I did not throw the recorder. What came over me was colder than anger, a terrible clarity. The truth was complete enough that I no longer needed to argue with it. I called Detective Park. She listened to the recording that afternoon. When it finished, she remained quiet for several seconds. This changes the investigation. Can you arrest them? We need to locate Ray. This recording supports what we already have, but I want the driver before anyone can claim the conversation was about something else. My father warned him. We don't know that yet. I do. She studied my face. Why? Because he defended Kelsey before you accused her. Because he knew Ray had returned. Because every time the investigation moved forward, he tried to stop me from asking questions. That is suspicion. Yes, and suspicion is not proof. I know. She softened slightly. Do not confront them alone. I won't. At the time, I meant it. The next clue did not come from the police. It came from Noah. Tom found Noah's tablet inside the drawer of a workbench at Bennett Garden and Hardware. Noah had hidden it there during the week before our wedding. Most of the files were ordinary. Patient schedules from the physical therapy clinic where he worked. Receipts, photographs, wedding notes. Then Tom found a series of messages between Noah and an older man named Walter Price. Walter had once handled legal and business matters for my mother. Noah's last message read, I need to tell Mara after the honeymoon. I don't want to turn the wedding into a fight with her father. Please confirm one more time that the building was never sold. Walter replied, it was not sold. Elaine left it to Mara. Glenn was only permitted to manage it while she was a minor. I read the message until the words blurred. My mother had left Elaine's table to me. My father had lied for more than 20 years. Noah had found out, and Kelsey knew he had found out. Walter Price's office was above a pharmacy in downtown Eugene. The waiting room had beige carpet, 2 tired plants, and a coffee machine that sounded like an old lawnmower. There was nothing grand or dramatic about the place. That made the truth feel even more cruel. It had not been hidden in a mansion vault. It had sat in an ordinary filing cabinet while I believed my mother left me nothing. Walter was 76 and walked with a cane. When I entered, he stood carefully. You look like Elaine. I've been told that. She would hate that you had to come here this way. I sat across from his desk. Why didn't you contact me? I did. When? On your 25th birthday. Again when you turned 30. I never received anything. The letters were sent to your father's address because it remained the contact address in the original file. What did he tell you? That you became emotionally unstable whenever the bakery was mentioned. He said you wanted no connection to the property. Walter opened a thin folder. My mother had left the Hawthorne Avenue building to me. The rent was intended to maintain the property and build a modest education account. At 30, I was supposed to decide whether to sell it, lease it, or reopen the bakery. My father had been permitted to manage it while I was young. He had never been allowed to treat it as his own. Did he take the income? Much of it was redirected. To Denise. To expenses connected to her home staging company, your father's mortgage, and Kelsey's photography business. My hands became very still. Is the building still mine? Yes. Why were they planning to give it to Kelsey? Walter looked tired. Because they assumed you would never learn the truth. He placed a brass key on the desk. Hawthorne Avenue. Beside it, he set down an envelope. My name was written on the front in my mother's handwriting. I touched the ink with one finger. Did my father read this? Number. I opened the letter. My mother wrote that a legacy should never become a cage. She did not expect me to become a baker. She did not expect me to remain in Eugene. She wanted me to understand that the building came from early mornings, burned bread, borrowed tables, and people who showed up when she was afraid. She wrote, a place is not valuable because our name is above the door. It is valuable because of how people are treated after they walk inside. Near the end, she wrote, your father loves you, but he becomes frightened when the women around him stop needing his permission. Do not make yourself smaller to keep someone else comfortable. I did that for too long. I stopped reading. Walter turned his chair toward the window. For 23 years, I had remembered my mother mostly as sick, thin beneath blankets, tired after treatments, smiling so I would not be afraid. The letter reminded me that she had also been clear-eyed. She understood my father. She tried to warn me in the only way she could. I drove to Hawthorne Avenue alone. Elaine's table stood between a used bookstore and a bicycle repair shop. The green awning had been removed, but the old brackets remained. A paper sign in the front window read "Available for lease." My father's business number was printed at the bottom. I unlocked the door. The room smelled like dust-cold brick and something faintly sweet that may have existed only in my memory. It was smaller than I remembered. As a child, the bakery had seemed enormous. I could still see the counter where my mother placed cooling trays, the wall where children's drawings had been taped, the corner table where Noah and I did homework while Elaine counted the register. Most of it was gone. But beneath layers of gray paint, I found a narrow strip of pale blue near the kitchen doorway. My mother's color. I pressed my palm against the wall. For the first time since the crash, I cried without feeling destroyed. The grief was still unbearable, but it was moving. Not away. Forward. Tessa found me sitting on the floor an hour later. She lowered herself beside me. "You could have told me. I needed to see it before anyone else told me what it was." "What is it?" I looked around the empty room, a place they tried to convince me never existed. My phone vibrated. A group message from my father. "Sunday dinner, 6 o'clock. We need to resolve this privately before more damage is done." The message included Denise and Kelsey. A second message followed. "Walter contacted me. Do not make decisions while you are grieving." Tessa read it over my shoulder. "He knows you found out." "Yes." "What are you going to do?" I looked at the brass key in my hand. "Go to dinner, Mara. He thinks I'm still the daughter who will sit at his table and let him explain my life to me." "Detective Park told you not to confront them." "She told me not to confront them alone." Tessa stared at me. "You are not going without me." "I know." I called Detective Park. She was not pleased. "Do not play investigator." "I'm not." My father called a family dinner because he wants me to stay quiet and sign something involving the building. "What kind of document?" "I don't know." "Do not sign anything." "I won't." "We're close to locating Ray." "How close?" "I can't discuss that." "Then I'm going to dinner." "Mara, these people helped arrange an attack on your vehicle. They still think I'm weak. That makes them dangerous, not harmless. I need to hear what they say when they believe they can control me." Detective Park was silent. Finally, she said, "Keep your phone on. Stay near an exit. Tessa goes with you. If anything changes, you leave." Agreed. "And Mara." "Yes." "Do not try to make them confess." I looked around my mother's empty bakery. "I don't think I'll need to." Sunday dinner had always been Denise's favorite performance. She set the dining table with white plates that were too expensive for everyday use and cloth napkins folded into precise rectangles. The house smelled like roasted chicken and rosemary. Family photographs lined the hallway. My mother was absent from every frame. Noah's wedding portrait had already been added. It was the photograph in which Kelsey had stepped between us. I noticed that before I noticed anything else. Tessa walked beside me. Her phone was in her coat pocket recording. Rosa waited in her car around the corner with the original recorder. I had asked her to come only if I called. My father opened the door. He looked tired but relieved. "You came." I said I would. His eyes moved toward Tessa. "This is a family conversation. She is my family." The words landed between us. Glenn stepped aside. Denise waited in the dining room. She wore a cream blouse and a careful expression. Kelsey sat at the table with her arms folded. She did not look at me. A thin stack of papers rested beside my father's plate. I took the chair nearest the doorway. Tessa sat beside me. For several minutes, no one addressed the reason we were there. Denise passed vegetables. My father asked whether my knee was improving. Kelsey pushed food around her plate. The normality was unbearable. Finally, I placed my fork down. "Why am I here?" Glenn folded his napkin. "Because this family is being torn apart. Noah is dead. That is what tore everything apart." Kelsey's jaw tightened. Denise spoke gently. "We all understand you are suffering. No, you understand that I have begun asking questions." "Mara," my father warned. I looked at the papers. "What are those?" Glenn placed one hand over the stack. "A temporary management agreement for the Hawthorne property." "Management by whom?" "Kelsey." Tessa let out a small, disbelieving laugh. Denise ignored her. "The building has been empty for months," she said. "Kelsey has already invested in plans for a photography studio. It would give her a way to rebuild after everything that has happened." "Everything that happened to whom?" "To all of us. My husband died. And Kelsey lost someone she loved." I turned toward her. Kelsey finally looked up. "You do not get to say that." Her voice was low. "I knew him before you did. You were children. He understood me." "He blocked you." My father raised a hand. This is exactly why we need to stop making accusations. I looked at him. You want me to sign my mother's building over to Kelsey? Temporarily. It is already mine. The room went still. Denise recovered first. Nothing has been formally settled. Walter Price settled it 23 years ago. My father's face changed. Mara, there are financial complications you do not understand. I understand that Mom left the building to me. It was managed for the family. You used the rent to maintain the household you grew up in. And Denise's company. Silence. And Kelsey's equipment. Denise set down her glass. We supported both daughters. No, you used one daughter's inheritance to support the other. Kelsey leaned back. There it is. What? The speech about everything being stolen from you. My mother's property was stolen from me. You had Elaine. She died. You had everyone's sympathy. I was 9. You had Noah. The name changed the room. I looked at her. You believe he was another thing I took. You knew how I felt. He did not love you. He might have if you hadn't always been in the way. Denise turned sharply. Kelsey. But she did not stop. He followed you because everyone followed you. Poor Mara. Talented Mara. Motherless Mara. Noah made his own choices. He chose the person everyone told him to protect. Tessa spoke. He chose the woman he loved. Kelsey pointed at her. Stay out of this. Number. My father pressed both palms against the table. This has gone far enough. I looked at him. You are right. I reached into my bag and removed my mother's letter. Then I placed the brass key beside it. I am not signing your papers. Glenn's voice hardened. You are not in a condition to make permanent decisions. You intercepted Walter's letters. I was protecting you. From owning a building. From reopening an old wound. No, you were protecting the income. Denise leaned forward. Your father kept a roof over your head. With my money. You sound ungrateful. The word almost made me smile. Ungrateful. You had food. A home private art lessons college. I had a scholarship. Your father still supported you. My father let you erase my mother while spending what she left me. Denise's face became cold. Elaine had been dead for years. The rest of us were trying to live. So you threw away her belongings. I removed objects that kept the house frozen. You removed photographs. She was not going to come back. My hands tightened beneath the table. Tessa touched my wrist. Denise continued. You were a child who turned every room into a shrine. Glenn needed permission to move on. And Kelsey needed my mother's bakery. Kelsey needed something of her own. She had years of rent from something that belonged to me. Kelsey shoved her plate away. You never even wanted the building. I was told it was gone. You left Eugene. You built your perfect little life with Noah. You didn't care about that place until you found out I wanted it. I cared enough that Noah was asking questions. Kelsey's expression shifted. Only slightly. But I saw it. So that was the problem, I said. What? Noah found out. My father looked toward Denise. Denise looked at Kelsey. No one answered. I continued. He knew the building belonged to me. He had messages from Walter. He planned to tell me after the honeymoon. Kelsey's face lost color. You went through his tablet, I said. Number. You knew he had the information. He was interfering in something that did not concern him. He was my husband. He had been your husband for 3 hours. Tessa's chair moved. I touched her arm. I wanted Kelsey talking. You met Ray Dugan, I said. My father stood. This conversation is over. Number. His voice sharpened. Mara, you invited me here to silence me. I invited you here to stop you from destroying what remains of this family. I was your family. The words left me quietly. My father stopped. For years I had imagined what it would feel like to finally tell him the truth. I expected anger. Instead, I felt grief. I was your daughter before Denise entered our house, I said. I was your daughter when she removed Mom's pictures. I was your daughter when Kelsey humiliated me. I was your daughter when you heard them discussing the Ridge Road. Denise went still. Kelsey looked at my father. Glenn's face emptied. I reached into my bag and placed a small speaker on the table. What is that, he asked. The part you hoped I would never hear. I pressed play. Denise's recorded voice filled the dining room. The curve after the red barn is narrow. He said they won't have room to recover. Kelsey's voice followed. He is supposed to force them onto the shoulder, not hit them head on. Then my father. You said no one would die. The man sitting across from me closed his eyes. The recording continued. I said the intention was to scare Noah and destroy the laptop. Then why does Ray need the truck? Because Noah doesn't scare easily. I don't want to know anything else. That has always been your favorite way of being innocent. The recording ended. No one moved. The refrigerator hummed in the kitchen. A car passed outside. Ordinary sounds in the middle of a family collapsing. Denise spoke first. That recording is incomplete. Tessa laughed without humor. It sounds complete. Rosa misunderstood what she heard. I recorded what you said, a voice answered from the hallway. Rosa stood near the dining room entrance. I had texted her while the recording played. She held the original device in one hand. Denise's face twisted. You. Rosa looked at her calmly. Yes. You recorded private conversations in my house. It was Elaine's house before it was yours. My father sat down slowly. Kelsey, I said, what was Ray supposed to do? She stared at the table. Denise answered for her. Nothing happened the way you think. Noah is dead. It was not supposed to happen. There it was. The first break. Tessa's hand moved inside her coat pocket. Her phone was still recording. What was supposed to happen? I asked. Denise looked at Glenn. He said nothing. Kelsey stood. He was supposed to scare Noah. Denise snapped, sit down. Number. Kelsey. He was supposed to force them onto the shoulder. Noah would lose control. The laptop would be destroyed. Maybe he would end up in the hospital long enough to stop digging into the building. My ribs tightened as if the crash were happening again. You knew I was in the car. Kelsey's eyes met mine. You weren't supposed to die. That is not what I asked. She said nothing. You knew I was in the car. Yes, and you sent Ray our route. Her mouth opened. Denise grabbed her arm. Do not answer. Kelsey pulled away. You told me this would work. I told you to stop talking. You said once Noah was out of the way, Mara would fall apart and Glenn could handle her. My father flinched. I looked at him. Handle me. Mara, I never agreed to that. You met Ray. Denise turned toward him. Do not say anything. He stared at her. For perhaps the first time in 20 years, my father looked at Denise as if he understood that her comfort would not save him. I thought he was going to frighten Noah, he said. Kelsey laughed bitterly. You knew he had a truck. I told you to cancel it. When? My father looked down. When did you tell them? I asked. I thought Denise had changed her mind. Did she say that? Number. Did Kelsey? Number. Did Ray? Number. Then you didn't believe it was canceled. He began crying. I was afraid. So was I when I woke up in the hospital. Mara, you walked me down the aisle. His face crumpled. You watched Noah hold my hand. I didn't know it would happen that night. The phone calls. I was trying to reach Denise. You knew enough to call her. He covered his face. I wanted to protect everyone. I looked at the father I had spent most of my life trying to earn. You keep saying you protected your family. My voice did not rise. I was your family. A knock sounded at the front door. 3 firm strikes. No one moved. Denise looked at Tessa. What did you do? Tessa removed her phone from her pocket. I let the truth speak for itself. The knock came again. Eugene Police. Kelsey backed away from the table. Denise whispered. You called them. Tessa replied, Detective Park called me 15 minutes ago. They found Ray. My father stared toward the hallway. Detective Park entered with 2 officers. Her eyes moved across the room, taking in the paper's recorder speaker and 4 faces that no longer resembled a family. Denise Harper. Denise rose slowly. You are making a mistake. Turn around and place your hands behind your back. My daughter was manipulated by that driver. Kelsey stared at her. You said we would protect each other. Stop talking. You said Glenn would fix it. Kelsey. You said once Mara was gone, the building would finally be ours. The entire room went silent. Detective Park looked at her. Miss Harper, I advise you to remain quiet. But Kelsey had spent her whole life being rescued from the consequences of her own words. She did not understand how to stop. It should have been my studio, she said. Noah should have been with me. She already had everything. I stood. My knees shook beneath me, but I did not sit down. Noah was not something you lost. He chose you because everyone chose you. He chose me because he loved me. You took my life. Number. I looked at her steadily. You spent years believing my life belonged to you. That is not the same thing. An officer placed handcuffs around her wrists. Kelsey pulled away. It wasn't supposed to kill him. Detective Park's expression hardened. You can explain that at the station. Denise was led toward the front door. Her careful composure finally cracked. She looked at my father. Glenn, say something. He stared at the table. For once, he had no quiet answer that could rescue everyone from discomfort. Detective Park turned toward him. Glenn Ellison, you are also under arrest. His head lifted. For what? Obstruction, failure to report a planned violent act, and warning Raymond Dugan that investigators had identified his vehicle. I closed my eyes briefly. He had warned Ray. Of course he had. My father stood. He did not resist. As an officer placed handcuffs around his wrists, he looked at me. Not at Denise, not at Kelsey. At me. Mara, please believe I never wanted you hurt. I thought about every year he had watched me become smaller at his table. Every photograph removed. Every apology he asked me to make. Every time he called silence peace. I believe you did not want to see me hurt, I said. But you were willing to let it happen if stopping it cost you your new family. His face collapsed. The officers led him away. Kelsey was last. As she passed me, she leaned close. You still think you won? I looked at her. There was never a competition. For the first time, she had no answer. The front door closed. The house became quiet. Rosa sat at the table. Tessa leaned against the wall and began to cry. I stood beneath the family photograph in which Kelsey had placed herself between Noah and me. Then I removed it from the frame. Behind it was an older photograph. My mother standing outside Elaine's table on opening day. She wore the blue apron. Rosa had hidden it there years earlier. I put it behind the wedding picture, she said. Denise never looked behind anything once she decided what she wanted to see. I held the photograph in both hands. My family had spent years removing my mother from the house, but she had remained in the walls, in the recipes, in Rosa's memory, and in the building they could never truly take from me. Ray Dugan gave a full statement the following morning. Detective Park told me only what mattered. Kelsey contacted him first. She knew he resented Tom Bennett and needed money. Denise paid him $30,000 using money borrowed against the rental income from Elaine's table. The original plan was to force Noah's car off the paved road, destroy the tablet he carried, and frighten him into abandoning his questions. Ray knew both of us were inside. He knew the Ridge Road had a steep ditch near the Red Barn. He claimed he did not intend to strike our car as hard as he did. He said Noah accelerated when he tried to pull away. He said the rain made the truck slide. He said many things. None of them changed the fact that he looked down at us and left. My father had met Ray 2 weeks before the wedding. Denise introduced him as a man who could make Noah back off. Glenn suspected violence. He chose not to ask how much. After the crash, Denise told him the truth. Instead of calling the police, he contacted Ray and warned him that the truck had been recognized. My father had not created the plan. He had done something more familiar. He had seen harm coming and decided that protecting himself was more important than stopping it. The criminal cases moved slowly. I attended only the hearings that required me. Denise continued claiming the plan had gone too far without her permission. Kelsey blamed years of comparison and emotional neglect. Ray blamed the road. My father blamed fear. Everyone had a reason. No one had an excuse. People called me for comments. Relatives sent messages. Some offered support. Others asked me not to discuss the family publicly because Glenn had suffered enough. My Aunt Carol left a 4-minute voicemail. For 3 minutes, she explained how difficult jail had been for my father. Then she said, "You know, Glenn, he avoids conflict. That doesn't make him evil." I deleted the message. Avoiding conflict had been my father's explanation for every betrayal. He avoided conflict when Denise removed my mother's photographs. He avoided conflict when Kelsey humiliated me. He avoided conflict while my inheritance supported their lives. He avoided conflict when he heard them discussing the road where his daughter would be attacked. A person can cause enormous harm without shouting. Cowardice does not become kindness simply because it speaks softly. The first letter my father sent remained unopened for 2 weeks. When I finally read it, it began with an explanation. He wrote that after my mother died, he felt useless. Elaine had been strong even while she was sick. She made decisions. She organized everything. She prepared me for a future without her. Denise entered his life needing constant reassurance. Kelsey needed money, attention, protection, and someone to blame. Their dependence made him feel necessary. Each time I became more independent, he told himself I needed him less. Instead of being proud, he became resentful. He wrote, "I confused being needed with being loved." Denise and Kelsey demanded so much that protecting them felt like proof that I mattered. "You rarely demanded anything, so I convinced myself you were strong enough to survive what I would never have allowed them to face." It was the closest he came to honesty. Near the end, he wrote, I thought if I did not ask what they were planning, I would not be responsible for it. I understand now that refusing to know was a decision. I folded the letter. For years, I believed the right words from my father might free me. They didn't. They only confirmed what I had already learned. He had loved me. But love without courage had not protected me. Love without respect had not made me safe. Love that always asked me to accept less was not enough. I visited him once. The meeting took place in a small room with a metal table bolted to the floor. He looked older than he had at dinner. His gray hair had grown unevenly around his ears. His hands shook when he sat down. Mara, I said nothing. Thank you for coming. I came because I have one question. Anything. If Denise had told you the plan was going to happen, would you have stopped it? He looked down. I would like to believe I would. That is not an answer. Number. I waited. He pressed both hands against the table. I don't know. It hurt. But it was true. Were you ever going to tell me about the bakery? His eyes closed. I intended to. When? I don't know. Were you going to give it to Kelsey? Only for a few years. It was not yours to give. I know that now. You knew it then. He began to cry. In the past, his tears would have ended the conversation. I would have softened. I would have told him I understood. This time I let him cry. I loved you, he said. I believe you. He looked up, surprised. I believe you loved me. But you loved being protected from hard choices more. Mara, please give me a chance to make this right. You cannot make Noah alive. I know. You cannot return the years you spent my mother's money. I know. You cannot undo walking me toward a man you knew might be attacked. His shoulders shook. I know. I am not saying I will hate you forever. Hope flashed across his face. I continued. I am saying forgiveness, if it ever comes, will not give you access to my life. The hope disappeared. I'm still your father, and I am still your daughter. That is why what you did hurts this much. He reached toward me. I moved my hands into my lap. When you are released, you will need to build a life that does not depend on me telling you that you were a good man. The guard announced that our time was ending. My father spoke quickly. Please don't reopen the bakery just to punish us. Even then, he believed my future would be a response to him. Whatever I build will have nothing to do with punishing you. I stood. For the first time, it will be mine. The charges and financial issues took months to resolve. Walter helped recover part of the rental income that had been misused. The amount was not enormous enough to make me wealthy. It was enough to repair the Hawthorne building. That felt right. Elaine's table had never been about wealth. It had been about work, community, food placed in front of people who needed it. At first, I did not know whether I wanted to reopen it. I was an art teacher, not a baker. I had spent 10 years working with middle school students who came into my classroom carrying hunger, anger, embarrassment, and problems too large for 12-year-old shoulders. I knew how many children needed somewhere safe after school. So I decided the building would become something new. The front room would be a small cafe. Rosa would manage the kitchen with 2 women who had once worked for my mother. The back would host affordable cooking classes. The upstairs storage room would become an art studio where teenagers could paint, draw, finish homework, or simply sit somewhere they were not required to explain themselves. No marble counters, no expensive membership, no polished photographs pretending life was perfect. A place did not matter because our name was on the door. It mattered because of how people were treated after they entered. Tom and Linda offered to pay for the renovation. I thanked them and declined. Not because I wanted distance, because I needed to stand inside the building and know it had not been rescued by another family. Tom understood. He offered labor instead. That is different, he said. Most Saturdays he arrived before sunrise carrying tools. Linda brought lunch. Tessa painted walls badly and blamed the brushes. Rosa returned the boxes she had saved from my childhood. We opened them on the floor of Elaine's table. Inside were menus, photographs, aprons, customer notes, and a ceramic sign painted by a teenager during the bakery's first year. Come in hungry, leave knowing you matter. The paint was chipped. The message wasn't. During the renovation, we removed the gray vinyl flooring and found the original honey-colored wood beneath it. We stripped layers of paint from the back wall until Elaine's pale blue appeared. We restored the long community table instead of replacing it. One afternoon, Tom found a child's drawing wedged behind an old cabinet. 2 stick figures stood outside a bakery. One had brown hair and a blue apron. The other had purple paint across her face. At the bottom, in uneven handwriting, were the words, "Me and Mom when I grow up." I sat on the unfinished floor holding the paper. Tom lowered himself beside me. Noah probably added the purple mark. He never let me forget that. He talked about this place a lot. Why didn't he tell me what he found? He wanted to give you answers, not another fight before the wedding. He should have told me. Yes. Tom did not defend his son automatically. That was one of the ways his love differed from my father's. He could honor Noah without pretending Noah had never made a mistake. He thought he had time, Tom said. So did I. We sat without speaking. After a while, he handed me an envelope. Linda found this inside Noah's desk. My name was written on the front. The letter had been dated 4 days before our wedding. Mara, I know we agreed on no serious family conversations until after the honeymoon. So naturally, I'm writing a serious family conversation down and hiding it like a coward. I found something about Elaine's table. I do not have every answer yet, but I know your father did not tell you the truth. Before you panic, I am not trying to turn our wedding into an investigation. I want you to enjoy the life we are beginning. But I also need you to know that whatever is waiting in that building belongs to you, not only the property, but the right to decide what your mother's work means in your life. You do not have to reopen it. You do not have to become Elaine. You do not have to prove anything to anyone. Nobody gets to erase a choice before you know you have it. When we come home, we'll sit at the ugly kitchen table in our apartment, order too much Chinese food, and figure it out together. I love you. I choose you. Still legally yours, Noah. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it and placed it inside my jacket. For several days afterward, I was angry with him. Anger was easier than admitting how badly I missed him. I wanted to shout that he should have told me immediately. I wanted to ask why he smiled through the rehearsal dinner while carrying a secret that had put him in danger. Mostly, I wanted the ugly kitchen table. I wanted takeout containers and his bare feet on the chair beside mine. I wanted the conversation we were supposed to have. Grief is full of impossible wants. You learn to carry them without expecting the world to satisfy them. Opening day arrived 11 months after my wedding. The new sign read, Elaine's Table Community Kitchen and Art Room. Below it in smaller letters, come in hungry, leave knowing you matter. I reached the building before sunrise. Rosa was already there. She wore my mother's blue apron. The sight stopped me in the doorway. Rosa touched the fabric. I can wear another one. Number. I walked toward her and straightened the strap. It belongs here. Tessa arrived with coffee and a box of printed schedules. Linda brought cinnamon rolls. Tom carried folding chairs from his truck. My students began appearing before the official opening time because middle school children consider schedules optional when free food is involved. At 9:30, the front room was full. I had refused a ribbon-cutting ceremony. I did not want reporters or formal speeches. Tessa tapped a spoon against a mug until the room became quiet. Mara has something to say. I absolutely do not. People laughed. For a moment I looked around. My mother's photograph hung beside the counter. Noah's picture stood near the community table. Not a wedding portrait. An ordinary photograph of him laughing in the Bennett backyard with dirt on his jeans. The people who remained were all there. Not because we shared a last name. Because they had shown up. I stepped forward. My mother opened this place before I was born, I said. For a long time I believed it disappeared when she died. The room became still. I was wrong. Rosa lowered her head. A building can be locked. A sign can be removed. Someone's name can be taken out of photographs. But things built with care do not vanish that easily. Linda reached for Tom's hand. I used to think legacy meant inheriting something finished. Now I think legacy is being trusted with a choice. I looked toward the art room stairs. We can repeat the harm we were given, or we can build a place where it stops. A boy from my 7th grade class raised his hand. Does that mean the cinnamon rolls are free? The room broke into laughter. For today. He nodded seriously. Best legacy ever. The doors opened. People entered. Neighbors, students, parents carrying toddlers, former bakery customers. A retired teacher donated a pottery wheel. A contractor offered several weekends of labor. A woman placed one of my mother's old paper menus on the counter and said she had kept it inside a cookbook for 22 years. An older man told me Elaine once allowed him to wash dishes for lunch when he had no money. Each story returned another piece of my mother. There was no revenge in that room. Something better was happening. People were returning what my family had tried to erase. Not money, memory, respect, belonging. Near the end of the afternoon, Walter arrived carrying one envelope. "It is from Denise," he said. I almost refused it. Then I took it. Her letter did not contain the perfect confession a story might have given her. It began with excuses. She wrote that I never understood what it was like to enter a house where a dead woman was treated as perfect. She wrote that every neighbor compared her cooking, parenting, and marriage to Elaine's. She claimed she only wanted a home that belonged to the living. She said Kelsey had grown up feeling unwanted and that she had made mistakes while trying to protect her. Near the end, she wrote, "I know you believe I erased your mother. You never understood what it was like to compete with someone who could never make another mistake. I will always regret what happened to Noah, but I will not accept that every choice was mine alone." I folded the letter. It explained nothing I did not already know. Denise still believed my mother's memory had harmed her simply by surviving. She still believed protecting Kelsey reduced her responsibility. For months, I thought healing would require the people who hurt me to understand what they had done. It didn't. My freedom began when their understanding stopped being necessary. After everyone left, I drove to Silver Creek Orchard alone. The owner had given me permission to enter after closing. The packing barn was dark. The string lights were gone. Leaves covered the path where my father had walked me toward Noah. I stopped beneath the maple tree where we had taken our wedding photographs. For months, I avoided the orchard because I believed returning would destroy me. It didn't. Pain met me there, but so did love. I could almost hear Noah laughing after stepping on my dress. I could see him leaning close during our first dance. "I choose you when life is easy, and I will choose you when it isn't." I removed his letter from my coat. "You should have told me," I said aloud. The orchard gave no answer. "I'm still angry." Wind moved through the trees. "And I still love you." I placed a sprig of rosemary beneath the maple. My mother used rosemary in the bread she made for weddings. Rosa said it meant remembrance. I opened the building, I told Noah. Not the way Mom had it, the way I needed it to become. My voice shook. "We have an art room. You would hate the chairs." Tessa chose them. I laughed through my tears. It was the first time I had laughed while speaking to him. I kept my choice. The sun lowered behind the orchard. For most of my life, I believed family was guaranteed by shared blood marriage certificates, childhood photographs, and names written together on holiday cards. I was wrong. Family is not the person who tells you to stay quiet so dinner remains comfortable. It is not the parent who watches you be diminished and calls his silence neutrality. It is not the relative who treats your life like a prize they were denied. Family is the friend who sleeps in the hospital chair, the mother-in-law who preserves an apron because she knows memory matters, the father-in-law who repairs a roof without trying to own what stands beneath it, the woman who protects recipes and truth when everyone with power wants both destroyed, the people who correct the room when someone tries to make the grieving wife invisible. My mother left behind more than a building. She left proof that gentleness could be strong. Noah left more than a wedding ring. He left me the knowledge that being chosen should never require becoming smaller. My father left me a lesson too. Love without courage becomes an excuse. Love without respect becomes possession. Love that repeatedly asks you to forgive what it refuses to change is not enough to build a safe home. I once believed dignity meant never breaking. Now I know dignity is what you do after you break. It is refusing to let the people who hurt you write the final version of your story. It is telling the truth without allowing hatred to become your whole identity. It is rebuilding, not so those who betrayed you will regret what they lost, but because your life still deserves somewhere beautiful to go. I did not need to destroy Kelsey. Her own choices exposed her. I did not reopen Elaine's table to punish Denise. I reopened it because my mother had left me a choice. I did not close the door on my father because I wanted revenge. I closed it because dignity sometimes requires accepting that love and access are not the same thing. I stood beneath the maple tree until the final light disappeared. Then I pressed my wedding ring against my lips. "Good night, Noah." I turned toward the parking lot. For the first time, walking away from the orchard did not feel like leaving him behind. It felt like carrying the best of him forward. So let me ask you this. If your father knew someone was planning to force your car off the road but stayed silent to protect his new wife and stepdaughter, could you ever allow him back into your life? Or are some betrayals so deep that forgiveness can exist only from behind a permanently closed door?